Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. 2021 is here, the year of the vaccine. Nigeria is expected to receive the vaccine this January. And while we wait, we've been informed that the non-pharmaceutical guidelines are our best weapon against COVID-19. I mean, we've had this pandemic for more than 9 months. The non-pharmaceutical guidelines should be second nature to us now. But it's not, because there's so much resistance to these guidelines. We will examine these challenges in our feature story. But first, let's look at the first week of 2021 in Nigeria's seat of power. President Muhammadu Buhari says his administration is committed to seeing young people prosper in Nigeria and reiterated his promise to fulfill the 5 key requests demanded by the NSAS protesters last October. The president voiced this position during a New Year message broadcast to Nigerians.
In this journey to nationhood, we have experienced the highs and the lows. 2020 indeed came with a lot of challenges ranging from security and economic issues across the regions to understandable protests that were mainly led by youth and served notice to the demand for police reforms and accountability. This government heard, this government listened, and this government is committed to fulfilling the 5 demands of our youth, fully understanding that we all wish well for Nigeria.
A day before the new year, the president signed the 2021 appropriation bill and the amended finance bill into law. Federal lawmakers had approved the sum of 13.5 trillion naira for the 2021 fiscal year, and the president is promising that the budget will address the challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy.
In designing the 2021 budget, we deliberately choose to pursue an expansionary fiscal policy. As you are all aware, our economy recently lapsed into its second recession in 4 years. I mentioned during the presentation of the 2021 appropriation bill that we intend to use the budget to accelerate our economic recovery process, promote social inclusion, and strengthen the resilience of the economy.
In the meantime, the president met with the Borno State Governor, Professor Babagana Zulum, over the repatriation of Nigerians living in Niger Republic, Cameroon, and Chad. They had fled to those countries after the attacks by Boko Haram insurgents. The Borno State Governor is seeking collaboration with the federal government in that regard. Effective from January the 1st, 2021, passports of the first 100 passengers that have failed to take the post-arrival PCR test will be published in the national dailies and suspended till June 2021. Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Mr. Boss Mustafa, made the announcement at the last media briefing of the task force for the year as it reveals additional quarantine protocols to be observed by travelers arriving from the United Kingdom and South Africa.
With effect from 1st of January 2021, the passports of the first 100 passengers that failed to take their day 7 post-arrival PCR tests will be published in the national dailies. These passports, as a deterrent, would also be suspended from the 1st of January until June 2021.
Meanwhile, the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, Dr. Chike Ihekwazu, has predicted that January 2021 will be a tough month for the country in view of the refusal by most Nigerians to adhere to the COVID-19 protocols.
Event centers are full. Our treatment centers are filling up. We're struggling to keep up. We're struggling to find the facilities to manage, the oxygen to manage. January will be a tough month for all of us. It will be tough, but we still have an opportunity to do what we need to do. We've been liaising with the executive governors of states across the country to be more purposeful in implementing the measures that we have agreed on collectively. And we have seen some of them doing that. But many of the states in the country haven't, and pretend as if there will be no consequence.
As Nigerians continue to besiege the national identity number enrollment centers across the country in their numbers, the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Pantani, is insisting that the policy to merge the national identification number with the subscriber identification module was made on February the 4th, 2020, and not in December of 2020. However, he explains that the booking system employed by the National Identity Management Commission is bringing orderliness to the registration process.
This policy of linking national identity with SIM is not today or last week or 2 weeks, as some people say. This policy was announced by the federal government since on 4th February 2020, and it was given to NCC by federal government in writing that this period from February to December, you must ensure the process is completed. More than 10 months, and it is only 2 weeks they started rushing.
In security, the military says over 2,000 criminal elements were killed in the last 10 months of 2020. Addressing the media for the last time in 2020, the coordinator of the Defense Media Operations, Major General John Enenche, explains that those killed during the offensive operations across the country include insurgents, kidnappers, and others whose activities threaten the peace and security of the nation.
Although some of our troops paid the supreme price in the course of the operations, our dogged troops have consistently exhibited gallantry and resilience in the various operations. Within the time frame in focus, troops neutralized scores of terrorists and bandits, while many others were incapacitated and their camps destroyed. In summary, the armed forces of Nigeria from 18th of March to 30th of December of this year neutralized 2,403 criminal elements across the country.
13 Assistant Inspector Generals of Police and 23 police commissioners were decorated with their new ranks as the year 2020 came to an end. Conducting the exercise, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Mohammed Adamu, asked the senior officers to bring their wealth of experience to bear as the nation is combating several security challenges. In our feature story, the FCT administration goes into enforcement mode following the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. This week in Abuja, we lost an icon of the ivory tower, Professor Femi Odekunle, Nigeria's first professor of criminology, and we lost him to COVID-19 at an isolation center in Gwagwalada. The numbers keep rising in the FCT, 95 people dead and over 3,700 cases still active. What can be done to get Nigerians on board? A few weeks ago, the task force on COVID-19 told us that there is nothing else that can be done. Advocacy and enforcement of penalties, if the guidelines are not followed, is the only way to go. And the FCT is doing it on its own. After all, that's the charge the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 gives subnationals. Watch this. The COVID-19 pandemic has really changed the way we live. Recreational centers in the Federal Capital Territory are closed to visitors, unlike what it used to be in previous years, no thanks to the pandemic. This is the popular Millennium Park, a spot known for hosting families and fun seekers during Yuletide. However, only a small unit of vendors are seen, with no patrons in sight. Also affected is the Magic Land, as rides and games are empty at a huge cost for the managers of the facility. The FCT is one of the epicenters of the pandemic in Nigeria, and in preparation for the second wave of the virus, the Federal Capital Territory Administration issued new guidelines, especially for the festive season. The guidelines as released include all employees of the Federal Capital Territory and the 6 area councils on grade level 12 and below are to work from home until February of 2021. All schools are to remain on vacation until at least January the 18th, 2021. All bars, nightclubs, event centers, and recreational venues are to be closed, while all restaurants are expected to operate takeaway services, home deliveries, and drive-ins. All formal and informal festivities, including weddings, conferences, congresses, office parties, concerts, seminars, sporting activities, and end-of-year events, shall be restricted to not more than 50 persons. Public transport systems are to carry passengers not more than 50% of their capacity in compliance with the social distancing guidelines. There will be a limit to all religious events to less than 50% capacity of the facility, during which physical distancing, mandatory use of face masks shall be strictly enforced. Enforcement teams have been mandated to carry out the arrest of violators and prosecute them through the mobile court system.
I think we went around the shopping malls. We went around shopping malls and some centers to our utmost dismay. Some of the malls are not some malls are not fully in compliance in the fact that they don't have crowd control policy. The mall as well, that negates social distancing. But what we saw in the mall was that the customers and the visitors are largely ready to comply, but some of the operators, owners and managers of the mall do not reflect what we want to see in them. So we have told them very clearly that any manager of mall or business center or shop owners who fail to comply will take that person before the mobile court and apply for a seal-up order, and that will not bend because we cannot endanger people's lives. They are in business, they are selling, and they are making their profits here. But what we want them to do is to follow the COVID-19 protocols. Washing of hands, sanitizers, putting on a face mask here. As long as owners or operators of malls, shops, business premises do not comply, we'll have no choice but to actually shut them down.
According to the PTF, within 1 week since Nigeria entered the second wave of infections, 16 out of every 100 tests has returned positive. The FCT task force adds that within the past 2 weeks, the daily count of COVID-19 cases recorded a significant rise, increasing more than 1,000 cases within a 24-hour period. In the FCT, over 11,500 cases have been recorded, out of which over 4,000 are active cases, while over 7,500 cases have been discharged. The death rate has crossed the 100 mark. The FCT task force is responsible for enforcing the restrictions. Already, 4 parks have been shut down and 9 arrests made.
Very high but not total. Very high but not total. If you watch today being Boxing Day and yesterday being Christmas Day, the Millennium Park is under lock and key. The Jabi Lake Park is under lock and key. Some other very vital parks are under lock and key here. In the gardens, we went slightly before Christmas and we shut down some of the gardens and we sealed them up, made some arrests here, and we are following those ones very closely here.
Meanwhile, the FCT chapter of the Christian Association of Nigeria is urging churches to comply with the COVID-19 protocols, especially the restriction of church gatherings to not more than 50% of their capacity. The chairman of the FCT chapter, Reverend Jonas Sampson, explains that the directive is in accordance with the COVID-19 protocol.
We personally thought within ourselves that the compliance should be very high because we know how deadly and how dangerous this virus is. And we don't need people to tell us, we don't need an angel to tell us that this COVID-19 is so dangerous. And we've summoned our pastors, we've talked with them, and we've disseminated a lot of information and messages, to ensure that there is total compliance, especially within the city center and beyond. And we are also saying even those within area councils should ensure that they comply with this instruction we've given. I told them that, look, any church, any pastor that does not comply with the instruction shouldn't call me when he's faced with the task force, because knowing the right thing and doing it is very important. But above all also, we are saying that as we continue to comply, let's also see the government functionaries doing something, because leadership should be by example. We as clergies, we are also helping in sensitization and talking to people. We should also see a high level of compliance when it comes to other gatherings beside the church setting. For instance, campaigns and so on and so forth, weddings. When you become a leader, the things you do, people would like to copy you more than what you say.
The task force is insisting that it will not hesitate to shut down any facility that contravenes the protocols and prosecute those found culpable. My guest on the program is the Minister of State for Health, Mr. Olorunimbe Mamora. He speaks to us about the fears for the Yuletide, the challenges of a nationwide vaccination for COVID-19, and a Nigeria-tailored advocacy for these trying times. Honorable Minister, welcome to Dateline.
Thank you very much.
We've recorded quite a number of deaths in the FCT. Heard about the death of Professor Femi Odekunle, who's a big friend of this government. And I think maybe it's beginning to get real to people because we're talking about people that we know right now. What precautions should people be putting in place right now, seeing as it's spreading and killing people faster than ever before?
Well, you see, quite unfortunately, as you rightly said, well, people always talk about the big men, quote unquote, that die following the affliction of this COVID-19. Unfortunately, in the words of Shakespeare, people forget that when beggars die, comments are not seen. So, in the same manner, it's because it's the big people that the death of the big people that is usually recorded or attracts attention, so to speak. But that tells you that a lot of other people are, less known are dying as well, which might not attract the attention of the media or even the general public. So it's quite unfortunate. Now, well, for now, what we are doing is to continue to hammer on the non-pharmaceutical interventions. We're saying that people should be more conscious of what they do with themselves, where they go, what they do, and the activities they engage in. But this is not the best. You are safest in your own home environment. And of course, this is not the time to encourage people to visit. It's not, because of the realities of what we are seeing. So these non-pharmaceutical interventions, they still remain the mainstay of our COVID-19 response activities. And of course, until and unless the vaccines are available, and even when the vaccines are available, we must not lose the fact that it will still take a while, to cover the required population.
All right, let's talk a bit about the side of government. There are worries about this new strain that people are talking about around the world. Just so we can hear from you on what the government is doing to maybe even restrict flights, let's say because these are the holidays, people want to come in from the UK, they'd want to come in from South Africa and all of these places around the world. What measures are in place, to ensure that Nigerians are safe? Do we have the restrictions? Are they in place for those flights not to come in? Or are there special checks on flights coming in from those places? What's on ground right now, sir?
This new variant has not been established to be more virulent as the originally known one. But what has been established is that it is easily more transmissible. That is, it spreads much, much faster than the originally known COVID-19 virus. So what we are doing, and this variant, this new variant has been established in UK and in South Africa. And of course, so many other countries have reported the presence of this new variant. Now, what we are doing in our own situation now is to focus on passengers arriving from UK and South Africa. We have not placed any ban yet because we feel that we haven't really got to that level. Rather, what we are trying to do, or what is on ground, as you have asked, is that the inbound passengers from these two countries, that is UK and South Africa, they have now been placed under extra alert, so to speak. And what do I mean? Hitherto, what you needed to do if you were traveling from anywhere into our country, Nigeria, is to first obtain the COVID-19 test, a negative COVID-19 test. And of course, you then fill in your details and all that is uploaded. And then once you do that, you board. But now, with the extra thing that we have placed on passengers, coming in or wanting to come in from UK and South Africa, is aside getting that negative COVID-19 PCR test, we now insist that they must also upload their data and all this information and get what we call the QR code, which will now be these two, that is the negative test and this already uploaded QR code, will now be the certificate for boarding.
The mandate of the PTF has been extended till March of 2021. What does the PTF hope to cover in those 3 months? What areas haven't you been able to, sort out, and you think in these 3 months you'll be able to do better in those areas?
Now, the first thing is to achieve some consolidation of whatever gains that have been made in the past 9 months, that was from March to December. So whatever gains that have been achieved, we need to consolidate on these gains. That's number one thing. The number two thing, probably more importantly, is the fact that now we want to acquire vaccines, because that is the ultimate to fight this COVID-19 pandemic. So that first quarter of 2021 will be devoted, as it were, to ensuring the acquisition and administration of the COVID-19 vaccines. It's a huge thing, because as we speak now, we have not decided on which of the vaccines we want to use. But the relevant agencies of the Federal Ministry of Health, they are working to ensure, of course, in collaboration with the PTF, ensure that the right vaccines are acquired. When I say the right vaccines, there are so many vaccines that are out there now.
Well, Honorable Minister, you have your hands full. You're dealing with apathy. You're also having to deal with sensitization. You also will have to deal with security, especially with everything that's going on around the country. And you have workers who are going to be getting all these things done. We'll be watching to see how the progress continues in the job that you have to do in 2021. But meanwhile, thank you very much for being with us on Dateline.
Thank you very much for seeking me out to hear my views and, what we're trying to do in our little corner in the ministry. Thank you very much. Of course, you're all partners in progress. You have the constitutional duty and role, which I believe you've been playing very well. Thank you for all the support.
It is he who is alive that will be able to eat. And the notion that you must choose one or the other is absolutely false. You can hustle and stay safe while protecting those around you. And if you can't, start learning to. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. There is no lockdown. You just have to wear a mask, keep social distance, and wash your hands while you live your life. Normalize staying away from clusters of people and you'll be just fine. What are your thoughts on the vaccine for COVID-19? Will you take the vaccine? Let us know using the social media handles showing right now on your screen. And please keep us updated on the happenings in your neighborhood. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla Megwa. See you next time.